Today on Aging Untold, debunking the myth of independence.
You're not independent if your neighbors are helping you with things.
We're exploring what living independently really looks like for older Americans. Then, loosening and limbering up.
You can do things to try to reverse things that are going on. You certainly don't want to do things to make it worse.
How you can get that pain-free feeling back in your joints and get moving again. And better late than never.
Congratulations, we are honored to welcome you to the University of Iowa College of Dentistry.
Chasing a lifelong dream, more than 30 years in the making.
It doesn't matter how old you are, follow your dream. You can do it.
Experts with advice and solutions. You're watching Aging Untold with Aging Well Coach Catherine Ambrose, gerontologist Sam Craddock, aging expert Amy O'Rourke, and board-certified physician Dr. Ray Rogers. We're all getting older. It's about time we talked about it.
Welcome to Aging Untold. Today we're talking independence, and maintaining that independence is one of the top priorities for seniors in the U.S. According to a recent study, many older adults consider living in their own home essential to their independence. And CDC data shows about 1/3 of persons aged 65 and older live alone. But Sam, does that mean they are really living independently?
Who's independent? That's a fallacy. We're all dependent on someone. The richest person out there is dependent on us to spend our money so they can keep theirs. We all need other people. And if you bring a caregiver in, even for a few hours, are you really independent any longer? Or are you? So accept it. Go ahead and kind of get rid of that mindset of, well, I'm just going to stay independent. Realize that you aren't. Accept that. And then it's easier to get more help as you need more help.
I think they're looking at it in the context of independence in terms of being able to stay at their home, right?
Right.
And then what options do we have out there for people who need to understand they're going to need help? There's options that are available to them.
Yeah.
I had a lady in the hospital. She went home. She needed care. She was getting care. And she said, do not move me to assisted living. And I said, well, then we'll increase care here because you are in assisted living right now. You know, you got to kind of understand that you're needing assisted care. You're just at that stage.
Yeah. You think, I'm going to be independent because I'm going to stay in my own home. But the thing is that you're not independent if your neighbors are helping you with things and your kids are helping you with things. You really have all these people. And we have a lot of seniors that are calling 911 all the time. So they're living in assisted living because the paramedics and the firefighters are coming over all the time. And so we really got to really get a grip on reality and what is really going on. And I think many people can be much more independent by changing environments. Dream a new dream and find a home that's going to suit you better, perhaps, so that you can get around better. It's designed better for you. Move into active adult living where you own or you lease, and you have more independence. You have more cohorts around. There's more activities and just more life. Or independent living where you have nutrition, social activities that you could plug into or not. You don't have to go to bingo if you don't want to.
Or planning for the environment that you want to be in.
Yes.
Planning is.
If you don't plan for yourself, somebody is going to be forced to make decisions for you, perhaps.
Absolutely.
Because most of us don't just magically float away to heaven from our warm bed.
And I always caution families, never, ever, ever make that blanket promise, we're never going to move you. And a lot of our aging population they'll say, you have to promise me, you're never going to put me in a community. You're never going to put me in a facility. And they'll tell you, and then when it comes right down to it, and you don't have the skill set or the finances to bring in the people to help you, the time and all of the other things, who's paying the price there? So don't make those blanket promises. It's you know what? I'll do the best I can.
I'll do everything I can.
I'll do everything I can to take care of you on your terms. But we've got to have a plan B.
But at least you're now having that conversation with that person.
And I also think we need to talk about money. You know, sometimes people don't bring care in because they're afraid to start that financial clock.
Sure.
And so here I am. I'm at home.
Right.
If I start, I'm going to run out. So I'm going to stay independent here at home because that's what I perceive to be independent, not having anybody help me. But I don't want to start spending that money because what if it won't last?
And that's a genuine fear. That is a true and genuine fear. So if you could maybe, let's be creative here. What if you had a neighbor that's also in your same age group? Because a lot of our communities age together, seems like. And maybe they needed an hour and you needed an hour and another neighbor across the road did. Could you talk to a home care agency that typically has a 3 or 4 hour minimum and say, you know what, I've got 2 other neighbors close by. Can you just charge me for an hour and you'll get the same with them? Can we start doing some programs where we're sharing the care and sharing the expense and start to think outside of the box to help that money go through?
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that I think is helpful is get somebody from the outside, look at your budget, look at where you are, what your money is, what your expenses are, what are your assets, because maybe you're totally unrealistic about what you're spending. Maybe you do have enough, but you need someone to reinforce that you're never going to run out. This is how it's going to work. I had one son, and his mother was like just very, very middle class, like right in the middle, which is, a generation that I feel really bad for. But he said, Mom, I'm going to pay for everything, and then when you die, I'll just get paid back for your estate. And she was so relieved. And I thought that was a really creative idea.
So he created a reverse mortgage, essentially.
Right, exactly. Now, not everybody can do that, but I think what we're trying to say is let's encourage people to think creatively and supportively so that somebody can remain as independent as they want for as long as they want.
I think the key is think, because a lot of people say, well, we don't know what we're waiting for. Well, I'll tell you what you're waiting for. You're waiting for a catalyst event that's going to force action.
Yeah.
And so the most loving thing you can do for everyone in your family, maybe for your spouse, is help each other get settled where you're going to be good.
Still ahead, how one man's diagnosis inspired him to be a beacon of hope in an unexpected place.
Hey, I've been through what you're going through. I'm continuing to go through it. And share them with them information, credible information. Let them know they're not alone.
But first,
The more that you sit there, the stiffer you'll get.
we'll give you some tips on managing joint pain and improving your mobility.
There are many factors that can contribute to joint pain, from repetitive movement like bending or squatting to sport injuries or accidents. The CDC estimates that about 54 million U.S. adults have arthritis. The Arthritis Foundation suggests that that number is likely higher and estimates that the disease impacts a greater number of adults younger than 65. So, Dr. Ray, let's look at what's causing that pain and what we can do to reduce it.
Well, first you have to differentiate between, I think we were talking more about the chronic inflammation here, because you can have an injury which is acute, something happens, and then you have what we call the dolor, the calor, pain, redness, swelling, and all that. So you have to get blood flow in there to get all these cells and enzymes to come in there to try to heal. That process takes place, and so you get there, you try to heal what's going on and all that, and that process stops. When that process continues, it now becomes chronic inflammation. So at this point in time, I think what we're talking about is more so people who are chronically inflamed, and now it's gone on to maybe they have some joint degeneration and all that, based off of the way that healing process took place in the first place. So now it's a delayed healing. And then you have to know why. What's causing it? Is this an exacerbation of a previous injury, or is this something new that's happened that's just continued to go on? Why is the person having this chronic pain? What is keeping them inflamed? Is it medical conditions, or is it prior injuries and all that? You just have to have a lot of reasons as to finding the why.
So sometimes I think people think, oh, this is just how it is and I have to live with it. And they may assume that, and they may talk to a physician that says, well, what do you expect at your age?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I think you have to look at, you can do things to try to reverse things that are going on. You certainly don't want to do things to make it worse. Okay, so you don't want to just keep the movement there and go and exercise too much. But gentle movement and all that, if you can withstand the pain and all that, it's going to be good, because you want to reestablish blood flow, mobility and all that. The more that you sit there, the stiffer you'll get. That's no good either. And then,
Right.
Moist heat, things like that, saunas and all that. And also, there's some little cheap things like, red light there's some little devices now that are pretty cheap, the red light and all that, they come in.
Yeah.
And that's just little things that you can do to try to help relieve that pain.
I think one of the most underestimated places to move is the pool.
Absolutely.
You know, there's access to pools all over. It's reasonably priced. But what I see is what you're saying. People that are in pain, and it takes a little bit to get it resolved. If it's going to get resolved, there's a profession called physiatry, sports medicine, and when I say that to people, you know, have you been to see a physiatrist? They go, what is that? You know, I don't know what that is.
Right.
And so pulling on different professions to help manage your pain, but don't stop moving. Wherever it is, just keep your body moving. I've seen so many people, because they're in pain, lay in bed and not go to a gentle yoga class, watch a video, you know, just have somebody come over and do gentle range of motion. Just keep your body moving, and then find ways. I might offend you if I do, I'm sorry, but if you have to take a little bit of medicine to help you move, I think I would like to see people do that.
Well, you have to do that because it's like anything else. We tell people after surgery, you know, you have to have the deep breathing and all that. Do not do things that make whatever you have going on worse.
Right.
And so if you are in pain, you're not going to move. So you need to take medicine so that you can move.
Right.
To get to that sauna or get to that pool. And it helps you to do gentle movement and all that.
That's right.
And it's the difference between chronic pain and, you know, acute pain.
Right.
Acute is, I just got injured, and if I take care of it now, I can heal it, then I can delay the way it's going to happen. And let's talk about just real quick the medication. So anti-inflammatories and ibuprofen, Advil, Aleve.
You can use those on a chronic. When something has happened to you chronically, that's probably what you're going to need. But if you just had an acute injury, those are going to delay the healing response. You don't want that.
So you want that inflammation initially?
Yeah, so the inflammation is good. That's more like aspirin or something, just control gentle movement and all that. So that will help you to heal correctly so you can delay that chronic inflammation.
Okay.
All right, don't go away. We'll be back with Aging Untold.
Still ahead, making a fresh start.
Really, the main thing was I'm not getting any younger.
The passion he decided to pursue after 30 years. But first,
Nobody talks about prostate cancer. Men don't want to talk about it.
how a cancer diagnosis not often talked about by men inspired one man to be a source of comfort and information for patients. Find more Aging Untold content on your favorite social platform. You can follow Aging Untold on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok now.
Unless you know someone who's experienced prostate cancer, there's a good chance you may not know a lot about it. It actually affects just as many men as breast cancer affects women. When detected, though, it can be easier to treat. Claire Kopsky in North Carolina introduces us to Bob Lane, a prostate cancer survivor who says his journey inspired him to share what he knows with others in the hopes more men will talk about the disease.
When the elevator door opens on the third floor at Urology Specialists of the Carolinas, a familiar face greets patients. 70-year-old Bob Lane has been posted up in this urology lobby for about 2 years.
I get hugs a lot. They ask if it's okay to hug, and I say, of course, and I give them a hug.
He's getting hugs because of what he's sharing.
And then I can let them know that, hey, I've been through what you're going through. I'm continuing to go through it, and share with them information, credible information. Let them know they're not alone. Let them know there is hope.
He was diagnosed with prostate cancer twice. Now 4 years cancer-free, he still remembers how lonely he felt at the beginning.
There wasn't a lot of information that was readily available. It was frustrating not knowing how to find what the side effects were going to be, etc.
That frustration led him here.
Nobody talks about prostate cancer. Men don't want to talk about it.
But he's working on them every day he sits in this lobby.
Good to see you again. And
he's making connections because of a diagnosis that he never wanted. They love him. And so when we talk about him, some people are like, oh yeah, I know Elevator Bob, and we talk.
Elevator Bob, as he's now affectionately known, hands out pamphlets about what symptoms to expect, support groups, the importance of diet and exercises, and he gives patients his business cards. He'll also even follow up with a personalized email with more information.
A win is being able to help someone who I'm speaking with for the first time and show them they're not alone.
Seemingly small connections that are fostering community and a willingness to talk about prostate cancer.
But I do it because it helps people and it's making a difference for people.
Ooh, Elevator Bob about got me there. I just love how life-giving that is, how generous that is, gracious to be there to greet men at the elevator.
And courageous, because it hits, think about men. Men are very macho. There's two things they don't want to talk about: prostate cancer and erectile dysfunction.
Absolutely, and both are,
and they're both kind of interconnected, believe it or not. So I guess it hits home with me too as having had breast cancer. And I tell people it's a diagnosis. It's not a death sentence. And that's what he's doing. He's letting people know it's a diagnosis. We can get through it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember having a medical incident and they took me to the cancer center for my first visit, and the panic that I felt, the anxiety that I felt, and I wished someone had been there to talk to me, because I think about it like when you have a death and someone's comforting you that had someone die also, and then you talk to somebody that's never had a death, the difference between the two and how powerful that connection would bring, that energy and spirit to bring to people with such a new diagnosis.
True empathy.
Yeah.
True empathy is comforting with the same comfort you've been comforted with.
Yeah.
So he made it through it. He was encouraging others that they could too make it through it. And he said he's still fighting it. So, which is truth for any cancer survivor.
I'm always inspired by somebody that's going through something like that and then just thinks about other people.
Yeah.
It makes me think, I want to be like that.
Yeah,
If I'm going through something, I want to think about other people and not go inward.
Next, how one man is making his dream profession a reality.
30 years of wanting to do something, it was like this huge weight came off of me. It was one of the most freeing days I've ever had.
Welcome back. If you've ever contemplated starting a new career but thought it was too late, we've got someone for you to meet. John Pace never gave up on his dream of saving smiles, and 30 years after he was rejected from dental school, he finally took the plunge. Abigail Curtin in Iowa shows us how his dedication paid off.
John Pace always wanted to be a dentist.
It's a lot. Sorry.
But after being rejected from dental school decades ago, he put that dream aside, instead working in AI and data sciences for over 10 years.
Really, the main thing was I'm not getting any younger. I've always wanted to do this. I wasn't happy in the career that I was in. It was going to be time to make a change anyways. And this has really been the thing I've wanted to do for so long. Let's do it.
Having completed his undergrad degree in the 90s, it took some effort to get back on track. But after 2 years of studying and interviewing, this happened.
Reading out loud. Congratulations, we are honored to welcome you to the University of Iowa College of Dentistry. You did it!
We did it!
You did it, baby!
30 years of wanting to do something, it was like this huge weight came off of me. It was one of the most freeing days I've ever had.
And after receiving his white coat, his family says they couldn't be prouder.
I am so incredibly proud of him. I've always been proud of him, but even more so now. He has been nothing but a rock and a support to not only me, but to our entire family. And I know he's gonna do amazing at this.
As for Pace, he's still in a little bit of shock over the fact that he's finally making his dream a reality. But he says if there's one thing he hopes people get from his story, it's that if he can do it, others can too.
It doesn't matter how old you are, follow your dream. You can do it.
You can do it. I loved that. Yeah. And again, another example of someone that just wants to spread encouragement to people all around him.
Right.
And not giving up. How many times do people just give up and they say, oh, well, I'm too old now? You're never too old. You're never too old. As long as you have that desire and that passion, go for it.
Yeah.
Go
So
for it.
30 years later, he went to dental school. 30 years later, he reinvented it.
Yeah. I think if you have a dream in your heart, it's there for a reason.
Yeah. When when his daughter was talking and she was getting emotional, I thought this permanent gift he's giving his family, and then all the support. Can you imagine what his family was doing to give him time to study, to do without his salary, to financially making this? And then when his wife hugged him that he got in.
Well, she read it to him.
Oh, just so sweet.
You could tell it was the wife and the daughter read that to him, and just how he cried. But I think another thing that struck me was he worked for 10 years in AI. So we think it just came around, folks, but he was back there digging dirt on it and inventing it. So then you have to think, okay, that was probably a pretty good salary he also gave up to do this. And then the death of going into dental school potentially.
And innovation. He's innovative. I mean, look at what he was doing before we even knew it existed.
Yeah. Right. So if he brings some AI into dentistry, we're gonna really
and wisdom into it.
Yeah.
We need more of that be unstoppable spirit.
Yeah.
And spread that, and that's what he's doing.
And no matter what it is, like, I don't want to be a dentist. I don't like the idea of being a dentist. That doesn't appeal to me at all. The point is, whatever it is, go for it.
Yeah, do it.
Absolutely.
It's never too late.
All right. We don't talk enough about aging, and that's why we're here, to embrace it and talk about it together. Until next time on Aging Untold.
Working past retirement, financial necessity, or personal purpose.
You shouldn't have to work until you drop. That's not what anybody should have to do. But you shouldn't be put out to pasture either.
We examine why older Americans keep clocking in long after retirement age. You can watch Aging Untold anytime online. Go to aginguntold.com or subscribe to the Aging Untold YouTube channel for more.